So Gordon, you were one of two key people in deciding how the connection machine actually ended up looking. Can you tell us how you got involved with the connection machine in the first place?
Sure. The way in which not only myself but Al Hawthorne got involved was through a friend by the name of Niels Diffrient, who was also an industrial designer, and also the connection with the Aspen Design Conference. And it turns out that Frank Stanton asked Lou Dorsman, who was head of design for CBS, and to recommend an industrial designer, and he referred him to Niels Diffrient. But Niels Diffrient at the time had a contract with TI, and he couldn't do it. So Niels called me and said, explained the situation, and just said, would Al and I be interested in getting involved in helping to design a supercomputer? And of course, said, sure, why not?
So this whole CBS connection must have gone through Bill Paley, who was one of the, I think, the original funders also of
I believe,
Machines.
yeah, I believe so, and I believe we were all at a meeting together with you and Al and Danny and Frank Stanton was there, and reviewing some of the very early concepts. So I'm sure Stanton also must have been somehow connected, but it was really this Aspen Design Conference, the Stanton to Lou Dorsman to Niels Diffrient to us, that really created the sort of the domino effect of how we got involved.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Dick Clayton, Danny Hillis to Miho, Cheryl Handler, take Route 128, exit. And so anyway, this is the beginning, and it was, and I remember the house you were in was a famous house.
Yes, the Robert Treat Payne Mansion.
Payne, right? Yeah.
Designed by H.H. Richardson, the first.
Oh, is that right?
American architect. Yeah.
And all I remember were the black cables running through. And I remember you were using Silicon Graphics machines.
You know, because the connection machine, even in the finished form, was essentially a back-end machine.
Yeah.
So you had the I don't know, they were probably at least like $100,000 Silicon Graphics machines, or Symbolics machines as the front end, where you actually sat and worked.
Right.
And then essentially in the programs that you run, calls that required the connection machine were then sent off to the connection machine, and then the results were sent back.
Right. Well, I remember coming in. It was I kind of remember the house, but I was just amazed at all of that thick black cables that had been taped together and going from room to room to room, sort of tentacles of the machine. We actually had
to rewire the entire house and that was part, I think, of our rental agreement that they probably gave it to us for slightly less, and then we rewired the entire house in order to support all of these massive workstations. And then the problem was that all of that ran down to one telephone pole where it entered the grid for Waltham, and that was of course the weak point. So in the summer, when the air conditioning was running and all the workstations were running, then the power would go out not every day, but certainly several times a week.
How funny.
And then a fire truck from Waltham would have to come and go and like flip the switch or something and bring us back online.
Wow.
So it was really sort of a 18th century house meets 20th century technology. Situation that was really very funny.
These opposites were just kind of interesting to see, all this technology in this very old famous house.